the lady feeling a bit sick? Oh, unfortunate.
Here are the drinks, senor.
Well, shall we drink a toast to 2155, to the future?
Adam Hatz presents The Strange Dr. Weird.
Good evening. Come in, won't you? Why, what's the matter? Your hand is shaking. Surely you're not afraid of me. Why, it's the cemetery outside my house that upsets you. Speaking of cemeteries, that reminds me of a story I want to tell you about a strange murder and a strange burial, the strangest ever known. I call the story Murder 1 Million BC.
In the spirit of reverence, we of Adam Hatz join our fellow Americans and allies everywhere in a tribute of humble gratitude to the brave men and women in our armed forces. Let us pray they who have brought us so far along the road to freedom have not sacrificed in vain. And finally, let us hope the end is near, that Japan will soon be defeated, and that our men and women overseas will return to a safe home in a peaceful world. And now for our story on tonight's Adam Hatz program, as told by Dr. Weird.
My story, Murder 1 Million BC, begins in a house on the outskirts of a small city in New Mexico. The home of Professor Timothy Jordan, a renowned scientist. Inside his laboratory, engaged upon a mysterious experiment. Inside the living room, his wife, Lawrence, and his financial advisor, Harry Smith, confer with each other apprehensively.
But, Flo, you say you don't know why Timothy asked you to be here at 11?
No, Harry, I don't have any idea. I'm sure he doesn't suspect anything about us.
Well, it must be about his money.
Money? What do you mean?
Well, you know, I've been handling all his business affairs for the last 2 years.
Yes?
Well, a lot of money has been coming in from those new X-ray machines he invented. So much I didn't think he'd miss a little of it.
You mean you've been taking it?
Oh, just borrowing some of it for some investments that'll make me rich.
Harry!
Well, if he finds out, and he will too, I'm sunk.
What are we going to do?
I don't know. But if you're only out of the way, well, then it could be you and me always.
Oh, here he comes.
Harry, is that you?
Yes, dear. Harry just got here.
Good, excellent. Harry, Flo, I'm about to show you the most amazing thing science has ever achieved.
What do you mean, Tim?
I'm going to show you why I've had to ask you for all that money lately, and why I'll need another 100,000 immediately.
Another 100,000?
Come along, both of you, in here, in my laboratory.
What's this all about?
Tim, darling, this room. All this machinery. What have you been doing in here?
Suppose I told you I have been building a time machine.
A time machine?
Yes. Look, both of you. You see this big archway of water? It's a doorway that leads back into the unknown past as far as the year 1 million BC.
Oh, tell me you're not serious.
I am perfectly serious. All I have to do is close this switch. Now, watch.
The archway. It seems to be getting all misty.
Yes, that's a sign that current is flowing through these coils. It's opening a hole to the past. A hole we can step through as if it were a doorway. Now come, follow me, and in 10 seconds you will find yourself on this earth as it was 1 million years ago.
Startled, Harry and Florence watched Professor Jordan step into the amazing machine he had built and vanish. Then, fearfully, they followed him and abruptly found themselves standing at his side on a hot, dirty, dry desert sand. A weird sun burned in the sky overhead, and strange birds flew through the air above them. Half a mile away to their left lay a vast body of water in which monsterish, nightmarish creatures were splashing. Harry and Florence stared about them, for they could not believe their eyes.
Harry, is this real?
This is New Mexico as it was 1,000,000 years ago.
I don't know what to say.
Well, I just can't believe it. The past. We've gone 1,000,000 years into the past.
And just by stepping back the way we came, we'll be in the present again, in my laboratory in the year 1940 AD. Think what that means. Think of being able to watch the burning of Rome. See Columbus discovering America. See the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Why, it will all be possible as soon as I can get more radium.
More radium?
Yes, radium provides the power my time machine needs. That is why I must have 100,000 at once, Harry.
Yes, I see. Well, excuse me, Tim. This stone, that's interesting.
Stone? That's just sandstone covered with clay. Harry, about the money.
There isn't any money, Tim.
No money? What do you mean?
Well, just what I said.
You stole it. Embezzled. You'll go to jail, do you hear? I'll send you to jail if it's the last thing I do.
Oh, no, you won't.
No, Harry, don't! Oh, his head. It's all crushed in.
I had to kill him. It was that or go to jail.
What are we going to do?
I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to bury him right here.
But his body, it may be found and
Oh,
then...
listen, do you understand? This is the world 1,000,000 years in the past. We'll bury him in this year and then step back through the time machine and be back in the laboratory. And when we get back there, well, he'll have been dead for 1,000,000 years. Don't you see? He'll have been dead and buried for 1,000,000 years. There won't be any body left to be found. Well, hell, there won't be any evidence left at all.
After Harry struck down Professor Jordan, he and Flo dug a deep grave in the sand with their hands. They put the body and the blood-stained rock into the grave and covered them both with sand. And then hastily they stepped back through the time machine into the laboratory and partly dismantled the machine so no one else could stumble on their secret. Then, after waiting, they announced Professor Jordan's disappearance. Everything went just as Harry planned. It is true, Inspector Leroy of the local police department seemed a little suspicious of Professor Jordan's disappearance, but of course he had no evidence. So in due time, Harry and Flo were married as they were returning from a long honeymoon. Harry said,
Flo, I've been thinking about that time machine of Timothy's.
What about it, Harry?
Well, that machine could make me the richest man on earth. Oh, for example, suppose I took it to New York and used it to go back 100 years, and then, well, suppose I use it to buy up all the land around Times Square. Now that
Harry!
What is it?
It's the paper clipping Grace Miller sent me. I just opened it and... Well, look at it.
Let me see. Bones of an ancient man found near residence of late Professor Jordan. For Highway 37 workmen today found fragments of a skeleton of an ancient man buried in a formation of rock and sand. And well, the paleontologist in the geological formation dates the bones between 500,000 and 1,000,000 years. and have been preserved by the extreme pressure. And the scientists suspect a rock found beside the crushed-in skull of the skeleton was apparently the weapon with which the prehistoric man was killed.
Timothy's bones. And the rock you killed him with. Harry, you said there wouldn't be any evidence left after 1,000,000 years.
Oh, we have nothing to worry about, even if they did find a few old bones.
Just, Harry, let's not go back home. Let's get off the train, turn around, go someplace far away.
Now, in the first place, it would look suspicious if we didn't go back. Well, in the second place, we've got to go back and get that time machine, because it's going to make me the richest man on the earth.
Harry assuaged Florence's fears. The next morning they arrived home. Flo had managed to make a meager breakfast of eggs sunny side up, with a little bit of hollandaise and dill, when an unannounced caller, Inspector Leroy, walked in.
Good morning, folks. Welcome home.
What's the idea of barging in on our lovely breakfast of Sunnyside eggs and holidays, Inspector?
Mrs. Smith, do you recognize this locket which was found and turned into the police department?
Yes. Why, that's my gold locket that's been missing for months. What happened to it? It's all worn and scratched. It looks 1,000,000 years old.
Yes, does, doesn't it?
Oh.
We found an inscription and as good as new, indicating your former husband gave it to you for a birthday present.
All right, so it's Florence's locket. So what?
As a matter of fact, I want to talk to you about that skeleton that was found outside of this house last week. You know about it, I suppose.
Well, yes, we know about it. So what?
It's a very interesting skeleton, Mr. Smith. 1,000,000 years old, the scientists say. But this locket was found lying underneath it.
What? That's not possible.
Another thing about that skeleton, which is puzzling the scientists, is it has gold fillings in its teeth. Gold fillings Professor Jordan's dentist identified as fillings he put into the professor's teeth himself.
What?
No, it can't. You're crazy.
No. It's the scientists who are going crazy trying to figure out the answers. But I'm no scientist, so I didn't have any trouble. My answer is that body is Professor Jordan's, and you two killed him and buried him there. And, Mrs. Smith, that is when you lost that locket.
No, it isn't true. It isn't true.
I said you're crazy, and I mean it.
Not crazy enough to believe dentists were putting gold fillings in people's teeth 1,000,000 years ago. Those are Professor Jordan's bones, and I can prove you murdered him.
No, you can't prove. I mean, I didn't do anything.
Yes. You see that rock that killed him? Just fits the wound in the skull. And you know what? The killer left his fingerprints on that rock.
Fingerprints? That's not possible.
But it is. The scientists say that 1,000,000 years ago that rock was covered with clay, and that the murderer left 4 nice clear fingerprints in the clay. Since then, the clay has hardened to become part of the rock itself. And those 4 prints? Fingerprints. There, in that solid rock match specimens of your prints I got from your office. How's that for evidence? Fingerprints embedded for all eternity in a solid rock with which a murderer struck down his victim.
The jury found Harry and Florence guilty. Without even needing a body, the evidence was so conclusive. Of course, nobody believed that Professor Jordan's bones had actually been buried for 1,000,000 years before they were found. But nobody could explain how Harry's fingerprints came to be embedded in a solid chunk of rock. Well, Harry could have, but he didn't dare to for fear of making matters worse. I remember another scientist. Oh, you have to go now? Perhaps you will drop in again soon. Just look for the house on the other side of the cemetery. The house of Dr. Weird!